Hi and welcome everyone to our 38th episode of The Little Inside. My name is surprisingly still Tobi, and this week we are going to talk about silent present moment awareness. So let's get started right after the intro. So for all of you who remember the last episode of The Little Inside, I was covering present moment awareness. So what is silent present moment awareness? Silent present moment awareness actually means that you do exactly the same that you did in the previous stage, which means you're paying simple attention to the raw sensual information that comes in through your ears, your eyes, and through the tactile sense in the body, while not commenting on it. So that is the previous version without any narrative or commentary. So that is what we actually mean when we say silent present moment awareness. In short, you are here, sitting here, feeling, hearing, seeing, but not thinking. So not thinking here means not talking in your head. That's what not thinking means. So all this commentary that we usually have, let's say you just go to the bathroom and then you wash your hands, and then your mind says, great, you're washing your hands in a fantastic way. Wow, the hands are very smooth today. They remind me of the hands of George Clooney. I really love my hands. They're amazing hands. All that kind of inner chatter, the comparisons that we make, it's just insanity. It goes the entire day and night long. We are walking through life with a voice in our head that continuously tells us who we are, who we should be, who we could be, what we are doing, what we did, what we could have done, what we should be doing, what might happen, what happened before, etc. It's just madness. The entire time. If you really know your mind, that you will notice that the mind is used to talking non-stop. Many people who come to our retreats or the meditation classes, many people actually, they state as a reason. I would ask them, why do you come to the retreat? What are you looking for? They would say, I want some inner silence. I want to turn off my mind. And what they actually refer to is this constant voice that's in the background or in the foreground of our experience. Some people know that there is a voice in their head. They're already a bit more aware. But most people, they don't know that there is a voice in their head because they think it's them talking. So they lack the ability to actually step back and see that this voice in their head is even talking while they do not want this voice to talk. So it's almost like it has a life of its own. It's madness. So if you will go to your family and tell the guys, Mom, Dad, I have a voice in my head and it tells me to do things, then how would your parents react to that? What would they say? What would your friends say if you suddenly raised this topic of a voice in your head? Even though we do need to think sometimes, on rare occasions, it is definitely not necessary to fill every single moment of your waking and dreaming life with this incessant commentary that constantly talks, with that voice in your head that constantly talks. That is not necessary. However, most people don't really know how to get out of this. They say things like, how do I turn it off? How can I switch my mind off? I don't want to hear that voice in my head, but it just keeps going. I just want to focus on my breath. I just want to have a good time, but the voice in my head keeps ruining it. So what to do? Many people say that they've tried to get rid of the voice in their head. Some people even went to full-on war with the voice in their head for a few years, actually trying to fight it off. Some people are very creative in a very funny way with their voice in their head, they might just tell it, go away, or they imagine the voice in their head to be in the
sounding like Mickey Mouse or something like that. So you can do all kinds of things with the voice in your head.
You can change it, you can manipulate it, you can let it talk about whatever.
But what is important to know here is, as long as that voice talks, it is impossible for your mind to rest. And if it is impossible for your mind to rest, it is impossible for your mind to be truly recharged. And recharging here means filling the mind with its natural silence, and it's a powerful happiness that is within that silence. And so this is something that most people never experience their entire lifetime. What a pity. So how do I stop thinking? How do I do it? Let's cover 2 mistakes that people make first. One mistake is following your thoughts, getting lost in them, quite obviously. That is almost like when you're watching a movie and you forget that you're watching a movie. When the hero dies, then you cry. You're kind of emotionally invested in that movie. You forget that you're sitting in a room together with other people. You forget that your hands are all clenching the chair. They're holding onto the chair. You're tense and tight. You're in the movie, literally. You're kind of fully identified with the action that goes on in there. In the same way, we can follow our thoughts. We can feel as if we were the thinker. We can fully believe in our thoughts, thinking that every single thing my head says is absolutely true. Never really questioning it. So that's one extreme. The other extreme would be to resist your thoughts, to try to push them away, to fight them away. That's the other mistake of the path. So you can neither fight with your thoughts, you cannot get rid of your thoughts by shooting them down, and you cannot get rid of your thoughts by following them. So I will give you 3 powerful tips. And these 3 tips, they're progressively a bit more difficult to apply. So depending on your own level of skill, you can see which one works best for you, or you can combine them. The first trick would be to mind the gap. Now a thought comes along like,
I wish I would have lunch now. I'm so hungry, I wonder, what could I eat for lunch?
And when that thought is finished, there is a short moment of silence, a gap.
Oh, and then the mind says, oh, there was a gap. I didn't think for a second there.
Right there's another one. Another one. So you want to catch those gaps, and become aware of those gaps. So you're basically taking your attention away from the thoughts, from the noise, from the content of your mind, towards the gap in between those thoughts. And the more attention flows into those gaps, the longer, the deeper, the more fulfilling they become. The second tip would be to refine your mindfulness. So how to do that? So one thing about our mind is that it is usually, if it is untrained, relatively dull. It is able to go through a forest thinking so much about what just happened before you went on that walk, and thinking so much about what happens after you come back home from that walk, that you completely forget that you're in a forest. That's the highest level of dullness. And if it's a bit more refined, you might still notice I'm walking through the forest. It's a bit of a more general sense of, yes, I'm here in a forest. Well, there are trees around me. It's okay. It's just trees. I can hear a few birds. It's just birds. So it's still quite dull. Actually, when you're refining your mindfulness, you want to become hyper-aware, hypersensitive to whatever is going on right now in that moment. That means you're hearing, for example, the millions of leaves above your head as they rustle in the wind. Or you hear the many thousands of birds as they sing in the forest. You hear the cracking of the trees, every single crack you can hear. You can hear, it's almost like you can hear the bugs walking on the bark of a tree. You want to really refine your sense of mindfulness. if you're stepping on the path in the forest and your shoe pushes down on the pebbles and you can hear the pebbles crush underneath your shoe. All these kind of things, these minute details that are there in every moment, the aliveness that you can feel in your body, how the feelings tend to travel through the body, from hand to hand, down your spine, up your spine. Follow these tingling sensations, this buzzing inside of your body, excuse me, this buzzing inside of your body. That is a refined awareness. And then the same thing happens when you want to hear something and you tell your friend, "Hup, hold on a second, wait, stop talking. I hear something." And you can only really hear it if your friend becomes quiet for a little while. So this is the same technique. You become so alert to what is going on. It's like, wow, I can hear birds. And I can hear them to such a refined level that you forget to think. That's the second technique. And the third trick here, it works only for some people. It is actually to become aware of the underlying sense of silence that is already there underneath the stream of thinking. Now, to give you a taste of that, it might work for you actually. Right now, as you're listening to me and I talk, I'd like you to become aware that you are listening. So as I go on talking, notice that you are listening to that voice, and that right now, as I say word after word, your mind is actually perfectly quiet. You're not having a single thought right now. Isn't that amazing? If you become aware of your mind right now in this very moment, as I go on and talk random stuff, one sentence after another, whatever comes to my mind right now, I just keep talking. And for you, you just notice that right now, as you're listening to me talk, the mind stays perfectly quiet. That's the underlying sense of silence and quietude that's there even though I'm talking. Now you can apply that same trick to yourself. Even though the voice in your head is talking, who is listening to it? And notice that that very listener is already quiet. So no matter whether you're listening to the trees outside, the birds, hearing your neighbors, or the voice in your head, that what listens is quiet. So there's this sense of underlying serenity that's always there. All you need to do is tune into it like a radio station. You want to find the right frequency? Up, got it, there it is, and then rest in it. Rest in that underlying sense of inner silence. As your mind becomes more and more silent, more and more refined, you will have your first kind of experiences of joy, a profound sense of joy that is born of silence. That is not that type of joy that most people know, like if you're eating something tasty or you have a great conversation or you watch a great movie. That's what we call pleasure. But if you go deeper than that, you will discover a sense of joy, vibrancy, aliveness, a refreshment almost, filling your entire body and mind, suffusing you with a greater and greater sense of joy as you stay quiet. So that's the first inkling. That's the first kind of glimpse that you get of true inner happiness that arises by just simply doing nothing, by just fully being here. And by fully, I really do mean fully right now. So a silent mind is a happy mind. A happy mind is a healthy mind. Nowadays, in our culture of information, we are very used to low attention spans, to a great level of noise, the intake of information day in and day out, lots of bad news constantly. We are bombarded, we're inundated by these various media outlets that are throwing all kinds of stuff day after day, hour after hour at us. This keeps the mind incredibly noisy, busy, and it makes the mind really, really unhealthy. So in these times, it's of particular importance to seek out rest. not only when you're sitting on a mat, but again and again throughout your entire day. So this is all that comes to mind for now. And I hope that was some useful information that helped you to understand the practice of our meditation, here in particular the level 3 of the path, a bit more in detail, and helped you to kind of tackle your next meditation session with more success, or more joy, more happiness, more comfort. And so for now, I think that's good enough. You can write any comment that you have. You can write it down in the comment section below. And I'm looking forward to see all of you guys again next Wednesday for the next little insight. And for now, I wish you a wonderful next week full of mindfulness. Bye-bye.